Hello, and welcome to the Mirrored Muse Podcast, a sanctuary for the soul and a spark for the revolutionary spirit, where our truth is reflected, our radiance remembered, and our spirit set free. I'm your host, Whitney Amber, and together we'll journey into the depths of what it means to awaken, embody, and expand as the muse of our own life. Through soulful storytelling, raw reflections, guided practices, and revolutionary conversations, this podcast is here to truly meet you in your own becoming. So, let's take a deep breath, soften our edges. It's time to step into the mirror. This is your invitation to rise. Hello, love. Welcome back to the Mirrored Muse Podcast. Yes, I know it has been quite a minute, several minutes since we last chatted. And let me just tell you the things I've been moving through recently. Oh my gosh. And the trip back to Paris, immediately followed by San Diego. A lot of things have happened and are continuously unfolding. So, life has just really been moving at a rapid pace and demanded my presence. So thank you for your patience, and thank you most of all for being here. We are fresh out of some major astrological transits, and we are well into Taurus season at this point. There is such a beautiful grounding energy these last few days, and right now, wherever you are, I just invite you to just be fully present in your body right now in this moment. Let's hang together. Let's forget the outside noise and just be in this moment. Maybe even take a deep breath. Let a little grin grace that beautiful face of yours. Because damn, what a beautiful life this is. And if that statement doesn't feel true for you right now, that's okay. Maybe it's a sign that it's time for a little shift in your POV. So let me remind you, love, we are living in the age of Aquarius, which is innovation, a complete new way of being, working, and living. It is a disruption point for the old way of doing things collectively and individually. I mean, for sure, we are all feeling this. And I mean, we'll be in this until year 2044. So, this is a time when we are being asked to leave the old survival model and things that keep us stuck in survival mode, whether that's relationships, jobs, locations, and environments, old belief systems, etc. Things that are not or just no longer serving us. And hear me when I say this. This is all normal. This is part of the evolutionary process. This is growth. So there's no shame in endings. It's a natural stage of the life cycle. With every ending, it just initiates a brand new beginning. And with that being said, I want to start this episode off with just a simple but potentially life-altering idea. I'll leave it up to you, but here it is. What if you're not stuck? You're just seeing your life from an outdated perspective. And what if the very thing that is causing you stress right now is the very thing that's also serving and steering you back into alignment? And let me tell you, I've been sitting in this lately, and I realized, there was a version of me who genuinely believed that I was behind, confused, and just not, doing enough, achieving enough, fast enough, right? And sure, I say this in past tense because that feels less vulnerable than to allude to the fact that this version of me has actually been sitting in the driver's seat way too much recently and in the past few weeks. Because, well, that feels more honest. But also, there is a very specific moment in my own life where I just outgrew the old lenses. And I needed a new one, a new point of view, a new way of seeing not just my own life, but the world at large. And once that shifted, things really started to feel different. life started to feel expansive again. And it's when the awe of possibility began to creep back into my life again. It felt exciting. And so, yeah, one of the first major perspective shifts that I ever experienced was through astrology. And I want to pause here because this isn't a point of view that is for everyone, right? And I think when a new perspective or a shift in our perspective is calling us, which I really truly feel deeply that a lot of us are being called by something, whether that is maybe it's a new religion, maybe it's a new ideology, philosophy, maybe it's tarot, maybe it's who knows? There's a million different things that we could fill in this blank with, right? But only you know what's true for you. And so I'm going to share a story from my own personal experience of what that was for me. And this has been over a decade ago. Okay. So, again, for me, this new point of view was through astrology and not in the way people typically think. So, let me just paint this picture for you. It was 2016. I had just gotten a hostessing job in Nashville, which is where I was living, so that I could start saving up some money as I clearly began to see and accept the fact that my relationship of 9 years and the marriage that I was in had long ended. And I was 25 years old, married, and about to serve my husband with divorce papers. And I had not known life really outside of this relationship as an adult. I was barely an adult myself then. And I just knew and could feel deeply that life was calling me forward and that my whole world was about to swiftly and drastically change. Like, I'm talking survival mode times 1,000. And let me also remind you that I was raised in the Southern Baptist Church all of my life. So during this time, I was also really struggling with the idea of religion and the Christian faith because you already know I had followed all the rules, okay? I had dotted my I's and crossed all of my T's that we're often told will lead us to love and a successful marriage, etc., according to the church, right? So I was really struggling with religion, yet simultaneously hella resistant to anything occult or otherwise because I obviously didn't want to go to hell while trying to figure all of this out that was unfolding, right? just, just abundance of questions, deeply in the negative for any answers. And this internal pressure, intense pressure of there being no room for error. Again, largely due to this set of rules I had inherited from the church. So now that was my experience. So here I am. I start working shifts at the restaurant, aka a tequila bar of all places. um, and just nonstop, I would listen to the other hostesses' conversations. We became, decent friends, and it was literally every shift. And I was so immensely resistant and skeptical. Like, yeah, sure, I would kindly listen to appease them, but internally, I was giving a hard pass. But one shift, I walked in and her name was Destiny. Crazy, right? Literally, the hostess's name was Destiny. And she had printed out my birth chart with this intense breakdown of what it all meant and just brought it into me. It was like, here, Wit, I went ahead and printed this for you. It was such a kind gesture, honestly, for her. And so I took it with me on break and I sat in the back of the restaurant and began to read it. When I tell you, literal tears just like started spilling out of my eyes and down my face, I literally felt so seen for the first time in a long time, maybe even ever in this specific way. it's as if something completely came online for me. And just a quick note here, because I want to be very clear, like, astrology is in no way an end all be all, right? Just as with any lens we choose to see the world through. And so, now this being one of the hardest, most uncertain, and terrifying seasons of my life up until this point, right? I was 25. I did, however, start to really kind of go into the shadow side of it's not just astrology, it's with anything we choose again to see the world through. I really started to outsource my power. That's what it is. That's what I'm trying to say. I really, in such a time where I was searching for answers and I didn't quite trust myself enough just yet, I'm trying to wean off of this religion that doesn't feel quite right and just kind of blah, like it was very messy. So I did begin to rely on astrology a bit too much, became a little too codependent. It became a crutch, an excuse for everything, for bad habits, all the things. And just in a way where I completely cling to it as like my new Bible, right? Just very unhealthy. I totally outsourced my intuition and just claimed these little horoscope snippings, which we all see everywhere. I literally would like wake up in the morning, first thing I would do was read it, and I would let that basically set the intention for my day. 0 out of 10, do not recommend. Please do not do this. And also, I would read these based off of my sun sign, which isn't even accurate or how you're supposed to approach those little generic snippets you see all over social media. But this is not an empowering way to utilize astrology at all. And I'll say it louder for those who are actively moving through a hard season. Listen, information is so great. It's beautiful and it is so tremendously helpful. However, intuition is always king, always. She is never to be outsourced by astrology, religion, anything, ever. So that's just a little tidbit note there, um, of something that, it did. I kind of had to move through this shadow, unhealthy side of astrology before I could really start to move into this empowered, embodied astrology. So, no, astrology is not, quote unquote, this is who you are forever. It's not something that boxes you in. It's simply a lens, okay? So we can relax and not take it so seriously, but know it is a really powerful tool that we can use if it's calling you. And this for me, it just showed up as a way to understand the rhythm of my life, the timing of my life, the seasons of my life. I remember having this moment where I started learning about my chart and transits once I got past my silly phase of, you know, all the things that I mentioned previously. I started learning about my chart and transits, and it truly was like, whoa. I just had this aha moment because I'm like, truly in my body feels like a hidden language that has suddenly been unlocked within me and that literally my soul is fluent in. And it's one of those moments of like, you don't know until you know. And I've always intuitively felt the shifting of seasons and cycles in my life, but wasn't sure why and didn't have hard, tangible evidence to explain any of it until astrology found me. And then all of a sudden it was like, wait, you mean there is a tool of reasoning for all that is unfolding? And I think more than anything, astrology became this map, this blueprint of my life that it quietly fed confidence and proof that I can trust myself. I can trust this inner knowing. I can trust when I feel these shifts coming in for cycles and seasons, you know? So for me, it really, really was a game changer. And it allowed me to step fully into a more empowered way of living and then begin to really embody several different aspects of not just who I am, but life in general and all the things. So, yeah, and when I started learning about my chart and the transits and the length of the transits, then I would kind of go back in time and research and see like, oh wait, what, was happening here? This is when my parents got divorced or here. And it's like, of course my fourth house was being lit the hell up during the time that my parents went through their divorce. It's crazy. And these are things, once you start to see them, you can't unsee. You just can't. So, yeah, astrology really became such a huge shift. It just shifted something crazy in me. Because, too, for the first time, I wasn't looking at my life like something I had royally fucked up. I was looking at it almost like just a movie that was simply unfolding. The rigidity began to soften and the pressure was lifted, and then I could just come to decisions one at a time and make them. And slowly over time, over this decade plus, I it's really allowed me to trust myself more and more and more. And what a beautiful thing that is, especially in the time of artificial intelligence and so much social media and so many different outlets and options to outsource our power to. Um, so, anyways, I think, this is where astrology, when used intentionally, becomes so very powerful. It gave me something I didn't even realize I needed, which again is proof that my life is intentional. My life is purposefully curated and right freaking on time. And it's uniquely mine by design. And it is at times very much and always in motion. And it made, the idea of divine timing, which I love to talk about, go from something that sounds super cute, that we hear about on Instagram to something that I was living and that I could feel in my body. Like, oh, this isn't happening to me. No, it's actually happening for me. And more importantly, it's happening on time. And guys, when you start to see your life in this way, you really stop fighting and resisting it so hard. Because here's the truth, perspective doesn't just change how your life feels, it changes how you move. And how you move determines what actually changes. So here's the deal, a lot of us feel stuck and at a constant crossroads because we're trying to live our lives from a perspective or a lens that was never aligned to begin with, or one that simply has expired. So then we're setting goals based on what we think we should want or what others want for us. That's a big one. We're also setting goals based on timelines we've absorbed from other people and definitions of success that just don't actually fit who we are. And then when it doesn't work, we assume something is wrong with us. But what if you're not stuck? You're just trying to force a harvest in a season that was meant for planting, or trying to expand in a season that's asking you to just simply be and integrate, maybe even rest. And, doing all of this out of alignment and out of timing, that just creates frustration. That is misalignment with timing. So let me ask you something. Do you actually know what season of life you're in right now? Not what the calendar says, not what your horoscope's telling you, your season. Do you know why specific areas in your life feel blocked, delayed, or maybe even chaotic, while other areas are thriving? They feel expansive, exciting, and abundant. Because your life moves in rhythms, and the stars tend to drop some really interesting beats sometimes. The planets make for some really great DJs, depending on what area of your chart is being transited or lit up at the moment. Because there are seasons for growth, visibility, rest, healing, building, releasing. And when you're aligned with your season, things feel much clearer, easier to work with, and trust can just flow in. I like to, I really like to paint or illustrate astrology as, I like to compare it to just like a weather forecast, right? And this is what I tell all my clients. So think of astrology as a weather forecast. If we know it's raining, then we can make better choices, right? If I know it's raining today, it's like, okay, I have rain boots, I have an umbrella, I have a rain jacket. Do I want to wear one of the three, all three of them, or do I just want to wing it, and just walk in the rain a little bit? I know how to handle it, right? Versus not having a clue what the weather is, and then I'm dressed in all sweatpants and it's 85 degrees outside. So think, I like to think of astrology as just knowing the weather forecast, knowing the season that you're in. So when you're aligned with your season, again, things, they just seem to flow a little better. And it honestly invites us into alignment and more ease. But when we're out of sync with it, everything feels like resistance. It feels like confusion or pressure, urgency, and constant second guessing, low key spiraling. It's exhausting. And I see this even in my own life, just not really at the moment, but I definitely would say, the last 2 weeks. There are still moments where I could look around for sure and say, hey, I'm not where I want to be yet. But that's the old lens. I know that. Because from this perspective, I see movement, I see alignment, I see things unfolding that I used to pray for. Things that honestly just blow my mind, when I leave room for the universe to work. It's like, whoa, okay, this is way better than what I even imagined. And even something as simple as making my first sale recently, which was super exciting, which then led to abundance of sales for the Cosmic Blueprint. I was just like, wait, I was so surprised by that. Um, and so yeah, I made my first sale a couple weeks ago, and it wasn't about the money, okay? What this was truly confirmation for me, because I was kind of in this wonky moment where I wanted to tell myself that I was stuck, but I'm not stuck. I'm just in motion. And I'm finally seeing my life in a way that allows me to work with it instead of against it. And you've got to love the fact that, guys, I truly can't make this up. My very first sale was made on the first day of Taurus season, which is where my natal Venus lives. So, like, if you know, you know. I'm telling you, once you see the patterns and the cycles, you really can't unsee them. And this is exactly why I created the Cosmic Blueprint. Because I know what it feels like to question your timing, feel called to create something of significance and impact. I know what it feels like to doubt your direction and your gifts, and to feel like you should be further along than you are. And I also know how powerful it is to begin to understand your design, your patterns, your timing. So you can stop guessing and you can start moving with clarity. And I talk about this whole thing of clarity. We ask for this all the time because we think clarity will bring ease. And maybe so, right? But I really have this theory that we ask for clarity out of fear of making the wrong decision or the wrong choice, as if there is such thing as a right or wrong choice. I'm going to leave you with that. I'll let you think about it. Okay, but before we close, I want to give you something simple that you can take with you throughout your day or the week, just a small little reset. So let's take a breath together. A deep, deep, deep inhale. And let it go. Let that exhale go. And just notice, first of all, what perspective or POV is calling you? What is calling you? Is it higher education? Is it philosophical? Is it a religion? Is it a book? It could be as simple as that. Is it astrology? Is it tarot? What is it? Because I'm giving you permission in this very moment to just lean into it. Be curious about it. You don't have to decide on it, but you are allowed to lean into it. Even if your old lens, your old perspective, your old beliefs say it's right or wrong, even if fear comes up around even being curious about it, it's coming to you. It's coming up for a reason. So first of all, let's identify, what is it that's calling you? And you don't have to take it so seriously. Then ask yourself, where in my life have I been telling myself I'm stuck? Let's pinpoint it. Is it career? Is it money? Is it love? Is it the location or environment that you're in? Or is it in the direction of your life in general? Just pick whichever one calls you the most. Now, last question. Just ask yourself, what if I'm not stuck? What if I just don't fully understand this season I'm in yet? And just let that kind of settle in. It's okay that you don't understand the season that you're in, if that's the case. But there are tools out there to help us continuously take the next best step, the next best step, and the next best step. We have one job, and that is to listen to our intuition, to that little thing that is telling us this book, this church, this reading, this astrologer, whatever it is. So, with that being said, I do want to leave you with a few reframes, okay? And just let whichever one sticks out to you the most, just let it land. Maybe you write it down and you keep it with you, or maybe you just write it in your notes in your phone. I don't know, whatever works for you. But here we go. Girl, you're not stuck. You're simply out of sync with your season. And no, nothing is missing. Something new is simply trying to form. And clarity doesn't come from forcing. It comes from shifting your point of view. Your timing isn't off. It's just unfolding. And no, you don't need a new life, girlfriend. You just need a new lens. It really is that simple. And guess what? You're allowed to move at the pace your life is asking of you. So, love, if something in this episode clicked for you, if you felt that shift, that's your sign. Not to rush, but to move with intention. Give yourself grace. And if your POV, the thing that's calling you, if it is astrology, I invite you just to be curious enough. Go to themirroredmuse.com. See the offers there. If something calls out to you, amazing. If not, keep searching. You're going to find that thing. Listen to your intuition. I love you. I'm wishing you the most beautiful week, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for trusting me with your time today, for joining this conversation moment, this mirror and movement of remembering. Feel free to keep this conversation going in the comments, and if this episode moved or sparked something within you, I'd be so honored and jazzed if you'd subscribe to the podcast, share it, leave a review, or maybe just invite a friend into the conversation. You can also join our Radiant community on Instagram at The Mirrored Muse, where you'll find more reflections, resources, announcements, and events. So be sure to give us a follow to stay in the know. And until next time, stay wild, stay soft, and never forget, you are the muse.